Welcome to Farm Charm Chic. I'm Emily. In today's episode, I am teaming up with some friends today to bring you a really fun collaboration. I'll explain a little bit more of that as we get into the video, but I basically have 4 brand new Christmas DIYs for you that I am so excited to share with you. You guys are going to love these. If you like crafting, DIYs, dupes, hacks, thrift flips, or just creating in general, I would love if you would consider subscribing. When you see your favorite project in today's video, remember to hit that thumbs up. But let's go make some DIYs. For today's video, I am teaming up with Wendy from White Sparrow Living and Alicia from Lavender and Lace, and we thought it would be fun to kind of challenge ourselves a little bit more with this collaboration. So we came up with 4 different categories that each of our DIYs have to match in, and Wendy did her magic and sent us a letter with all of our prompts in there, so I have no idea what I have in here. We have to do a Christmas style, a Christmas pattern, a Christmas shape, and a Christmas song. So, and she's also sent me a prayer. Let's see. This says, "Grace and peace be yours in abundance through the knowledge of God and of Jesus our Lord." That's beautiful. I hope that hits with some of you that need to hear that today. Okay, here we go. Let's get ready to see what we get. So the first one is, okay, this is my style, so I have to do a traditional Christmas DIY. Let's see what this next one is. Okay, this is my song, O Come, Emmanuel. That's a good one. Okay, already thinking on that. Let's see what this next one says. Okay, red and white stripe. Oh, okay, my mind immediately goes to like candy canes. Perfect. Okay, and my last one, these are good. Okay, this is not as scary as I thought it would be. My last one is bells. Okay, that's a perfect shape for Christmas. Okay, all right, I'm going to think on these and let's go make some DIYs. So I have a song that this is based off of. My song that I was assigned for my challenge on this particular DIY was O Come, Emmanuel. And I thought I'm going to stick with just a traditional nativity DIY here. Now, I have this wood cutout nativity, that came from Walmart. It was on an ornament. There was a front and a back side, so you got 2 of these nativity cutouts if you separated them. And I've used them in so many DIYs. I just love the simplicity and the minimalist look on this. So I'm going to kind of give this a different finish. So I paint the entire thing black, and then I'm going to do some rub and buff. Now, I've done this technique on a few different DIYs that I've done, so I kind of like having some of your pieces match and be cohesive, but I really love the finish that this looks. It almost is like aged brass or something, aged metal or something. This is just the antique gold that I have, but you could use a brass to give it a little bit more of that, or a bronze to give it more of a different tone if you want. So I just put a little bit of the rub and buff on my paper there. I dip my finger into it. I tried wearing gloves with this on one of my last DIYs to use, and I did not feel like you had a lot of control over where the rub and buff went. I've tried it with paper towels. I just love using my finger. So you do have to use a little bit of coconut oil to get it off of your finger because it is oil based. But I feel like this is where you get the best coverage and the most control. So I just go over the entire thing, paying attention to make sure to get the edges. It takes just a little bit. These tubes of this rub and buff last forever. But I thought this would be just kind of a fun way to make it look not wood, since a few of the other DIYs I've used with this one were wood. Now, this is a hymn that I printed out of O Come, Emmanuel, and I'm just trying to, and I love that it came kind of on an aged paper look. I'm trying to decide where I want to place this because I'm going to cut this out to go behind our ornament. So I get my placement set just right, and then this is not rocket science right here. This is literally just tracing and cutting. But I'm going to cut a circle out of the hem. And then I'm also going to cut a circle out of some cardstock to kind of firm this up. And then I will also cut a circle out of the background paper. So if I'm making an ornament, so if you see this on my tree from the back side, it's not going to look ugly or anything like that. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to glue our hymn song to the cardstock. So just to make sure that this has a nice firm hold. I love using my Elmer's School glue stick, just that purple glue stick for these projects. I've never had any problem with this not holding or staying. Now, I don't live in a super humid climate or anything, but I love using that glue. Now, to get this, the paper attached to the back of the ornament, I'm just using a little ring of hot glue or bead of hot glue around this. And then I will take this very carefully and place it just right on top of that. Now, I'm going to have a little bit of overhang on one of the sides because, that's just the way things go sometimes. So I'm just going to trim that excess off. So now I'm taking my Crop-A-Dial. I'll have a link to this down in my description box. This is one of the most handy tools. I use this for so many things. It originally is to do grommets and things in scrapbooking, which I do use it for that too. But I love to use it just to punch holes through things like this, like wood or thicker plastics. And I just make a little hole for the ornament at the top of this. And then I'm just going to fold a piece of twine in half and feed that through from front to back. And then you've got a nice little loop and you just feed through your tails through the top. And then you just have a nice little knot tied up in the top. That's where it's going to hang on your branches. I'm just cutting the excess off there and I always just kind of zhuzh it. I don't know if there's a more accurate term, but I just kind of mess around with it. So it looks a little bit frayed. Now for the very back of it, it was right now that it occurred to me that I should have put the song lyrics on the back, you guys. Didn't occur to me literally until I'm gluing this down right here. In fact, I think I show you in just a minute that I was like, oh, I should have done this. But this was a beautiful piece of Christmas paper, just some little Christmassy design on there that does look very pretty. And I'm just using my brayer to flatten this down, get a good bond and a good hold. But it might have been right here that this occurred to me. But either way, I grabbed that paper and I'm like, oh, and I don't have a space big enough to put on there. And then even the words, I was like, oh, I should have thought that through a little bit better. So lesson learned, if you want to do this, make sure you cut your song lyrics out so you've got enough to put on the back. It would also be very pretty to have this be double-sided and have another nativity on the back. I'm just sparingly using these nativities because I'm down to my last couple that I have. And so I thought that this would be just kind of a way to make the DIY and just kind of have, some extra nativities. So just a little bit more of the rub and buff. This is just to finish off that edge on that paper and on the edge of the ornament. Now, one thing I was talking over just barely is I did use my fingernail file to clean up that back edge of you're filing away from the paper, so towards the wood to get a nice crisp edge, and then you'll put that rub and buff on, and that's going to finish that off really nice. Now, I'm just taking some Mod Podge on that paper on the back. This is going to help protect it. I like to do a matte Mod Podge, but you could do a gloss, would look really pretty on your tree with the lights shining and everything, but I just do a quick coat of this. But I think this is absolutely beautiful. I love the simplicity of this. I think this is definitely an ornament that you could be proud of, that you could give somebody, tie it on top of a gift to give to somebody, have it just on your tree or in your decor, a project you could do with your children, your grandchildren. I love this, and I feel like it is such a fun way to incorporate the true meaning of Christmas. What do you guys think of this one? For this next DIY, you're going to want some type of garland. We're going to make some cute little things to hang from them. Now, this is kind of new. It's kind of like more of a flocked bead that's on there. I end up deciding just this traditional wood. This is a little bit bigger wooden bead than you normally see, but there's a lot of options. You're also going to want one of these sand ornament bulbs that you can get there. There's 12 in a pack, and I end up using just 7 of them. Well, there's a little bit of a disclaimer here, you guys. I ended up making this project 4 different times. I learned a lot of ways how not to make it. So hopefully I can share with you. It was a lot of editing and cutting down all the mess ups I had, but I hope I can share with you the way that I found that works the best. So I'm going to take some yarn, and you want a thicker yarn to do more coverage. I think it looks more nice and has more of a rustic feel to it than just yarn on a bulb. I started out with some really thin yarn, and when I got done, I did not like the way it looked. So even some macrame cord would work if you want to do that. They just didn't have red or green. So the first thing you're going to do is tie a knot in the end of your yarn. And so this is going to give you a nice way to start covering this bulb here. So we're just tying a knot, and then I'm going to cut off the end, and we're going to start at the very end of the bulb, like the tip down there. Now I have removed all of the unscrewable stoppers or tops to this. So I went ahead and just put a little glue there, and I'm going to let that kind of dry on there for a second. And then I will kind of start wrapping this. I'm twisting the yarn a little bit tight so it's not like untwisting where you have the different layers of the yarn. I did actually buy a specific detailed tipped glue gun for this project. So I've been meaning to get one. I tried this with my regular tipped glue gun, and it looked really messy. So I will say that you will probably want, you can kind of see the tip that I have on there, one of these to do this project. Now what I'm doing is I'm giving some texture to the bulb right here. These are very slippery. It's that plastic. So your yarn is going to slide all over the place. So you don't necessarily need the glue to hold it in place. When it's hot and it adheres to the yarn, what you need is to give this some texture so the yarn has something to grip to as you wind this all the way around. Now, I did put just another little bit of glue to make sure that where I start this, just on that tip of that bulb, that it is nice and secured. And then you're going to start wrapping this tightly all the way around. Now, like I said, that glue that I put all over the bulb, it's dry, so I can touch it, I can hold it, and then it just is there, so that way your yarn's not slipping everywhere. It's kind of just there as more grippers. So I'll just show you the entire process so you can see this. I will not show you all of the 7 bulbs that I made. In all actuality, I think I made like 15 because I found a lot of ways not to do this. And I got really frustrated, but I stuck with it, and I found a way so I could come and teach you guys, because this does look really cute when it's all done. So I'm just wrapping very tightly and making sure that the yarn is not coming unraveled or anything. You want nice, clean, and concise lines. And then you just keep wrapping, just keep double checking. It's nice that it's clear so you can kind of see the back side of when you're wrapping. So I'll let you just watch as I kind of continue to do this, because here in just a moment we're going to change what we're doing. So just for my grip purposes, I just switched hands because I'm getting close to the end there. So I just turned the bulb around. And as you start to come to the plumpest part of this bulb here, before it starts to shrink back down to the top where the little stopper screws in, we're going to stop. So I started wrapping and it started to slide right there. So I'm just going to get my glue gun, and I'm going to put just a little line of glue. And I'm going to come and just hold this piece of yarn in there. Just make sure it's the littlest amount of glue, because you don't want it to seep out and have it look messy. So once that is done, I'm going to add a little bit of glue to the top of this, just like I did on the base, to give the yarn something to grip onto. So all over up here you can see, and I'll let this dry just like I did before, so we're not working with like hot glue that's active. But then I take my yarn and I go up to the very top. So I'm going to start working down. I didn't cut my yarn. All I did was it was glued in place at that plumpest part of the bulb, and I just brought it up to the neck, and now I'm just wrapping my way down to where I will meet up with that section that I've already done. Hopefully what you're watching on screen and matching up with how I'm trying to verbalize it is making sense to you. But you can see how I'm just going to, all that glue that's on there is gripping onto this, giving that something to hold on to so it doesn't slide around the bulb. And I'll just keep going around until I meet up with where I ended. And that's where I will go in and put another little bit of glue so we can end the bulb. So I'll just pull that yarn tight into there. And all of the areas are nicely and tightly covered. I'll let this dry right here, and then I'm just going to get my scissors and I will trim that off. And then in the lightest way possible, I just kind of like almost pet it with the tip of my glue gun to kind of get that down in. I use my fingernail to push in. You just want to make sure that you're using as little glue as possible, but enough to hold it, because you just don't want it to look messy with the hot glue. Now, naturally, you'll get some of the hot glue webbing or anything. I just use my heat gun to go over this. It will melt those. I kind of use it to kind of push the yarn over that glued area right there so it disguises that. And then I go over this entire thing with that heat gun. You do not want to melt your bulb. I know this from experience. So just a light blast all over will get all of those little extra hot glue webs melted and they will be gone. Pretty slick and pretty easy, right? I think this looks so cute. I ended up doing 2 in a thicker twine, and then the red and the green. I ended up doing a third red one because I needed an odd number for my garland, but so cute. Now, I had put the little stoppers back on. These are kind of like the electrical part you would screw in, you know, if it was an actual C9 bulb that you'd screw into your little socket. So I decided to make them a little bit rusty. I just love that rusted look. If it's not your thing, obviously you would skip this step. It would make it so much easier to have one less step, right? But I really thought this was fun. I'm kind of going for a traditional Christmas feel here. And I thought, what would be more traditional than red and green, just true red and green, and like C9 bulbs, like the big Christmas bulbs. To me, that is just so fun. And so I just thought that let's make these look like they've been aged. They've been sitting around for the last 60 plus years, and they're going to be a lot of fun. So just dabbing some orange and some brown, even a little bit of yellow on the top of these. Just kind of do one layer, let it dry, go in and do another layer, and do it till you're satisfied with how your coverage is. You can see once I blast these with that heat gun, how rusty they really do look. I think they're perfect. Again, if it's not your style, you'll just skip this step. Now, I'm just showing you in contrast. This is the normal beaded garland that I've seen at Hobby Lobby. This one's from a few years ago, but it's usually like $5, $6, $7. And then you can see that bigger size. I just love the chunky size. Now, if you can't get to a Hobby Lobby or you don't have access to one, you can buy some wood beads on Amazon. Just get some twine and you can make your own beaded garland. It does not take that long. It may be a little more pricey to do it that way, but you've got the satisfaction knowing that you made your own. Now, the fun part comes here is I'm just doubling this up so I can count how many beads I have to space all of my little bulbs between. And I just cut some strips of twine. And so I'm going to loop these through each of these little stopper screw-on lids here. So I folded this in half. It's just going to get fed through, and then I'll pull the tails through that little loop, as you can see here. And that's just going to give you your string to work with, or your twine, whatever you're using to tie these onto your garland with. I just went ahead and counted how many beads I had and how many spaces I need. I think I had like one odd bead, like one of the very end ones might have one more bead than the other side, but you cannot really tell. So you can eyeball it. You can be as exact as you want, but you're just going to space these out. Just remember that you'll want an odd number, so you have one that kind of hangs in the center, or space them accordingly. After I have those all tied on, I screwed on all of the bulbs. You guys, how fun would this be to make this and leave it up, and you just unscrew your Christmas colors, and for springtime, put in some orange ones that look like carrots, or if you want Thanksgiving colors on there or Halloween colors, and just unscrew them and switch them out for different holidays. Have red and white for Valentine's. I just thought that was so cute. I just love this idea. Now, I just am taking these tails and I'm cutting these off. But look at how cute this is. I mean, if you have a fireplace or a window that you want to hang these in front of, I have a huge mirror in my living room or family room that we spend most of our time in. I love to hang garlands and layer garlands on there. So that is where this is going. But I just think this is so fun. I saw something similar to this at Vintage Market Days, and I thought I can figure this out. And you guys, it took me about 7 hours to figure out how not to make this. Once I figured out the way to actually make this, it went through really quickly to do, maybe an hour to make all the different bulbs that I had and tie them onto the garland. But it turned out really good. It was worth it. I hope you guys give this one a try because it is really cute and a lot of fun. It is time to deck the DIYs. You guys remember that today's video is part of a playlist, and that link is in my description box as well as pinned in my comments, so it's easy for you to find. Wendy over at White Sparrow Living made these wonderful prompts for us, or cues for us to follow with each of our DIYs. Kind of make it a little bit challenging, which it has been, but it's been great. And we're also joined by Alicia from Lavender and Lace. Alicia is newer to the crafting YouTube world, so when you're on her channel, make sure you're subscribed, leave her a like. She is so awesome. It's been so fun working with these ladies, getting this collaboration together, that I know everybody has some wonderful DIYs and Christmas inspiration to share with you. So again, the playlist link is in my description box as well as pinned in my comments, but let's go make some more DIYs. I got this cute little bell shape from Dollar Tree. I've actually had it in my stash for a little while, and you guys know how much I love risers. I love to use them in my decor. They're fun on a tiered tray or even other platforms, and I thought this bell would be so cute to do just that with. So I'm going to give this a little bit of a treatment with some rub-on transfers and some paint. It's going to look really cute when it's done. So now you see it has this natural ridge that's been routed into it. Typically that's the front side. When I do these as risers, I like to have the back side be the top and your surface that everything's sitting on. It gives it more of a platform look, and it also gives more surface area for your items to sit on. So I'm just going to give this a really good couple coats of white paint. Now I have this IOD transfer. This book is from a couple of years ago. It's the only Christmas one that I have, but you could use a napkin to do some decoupage techniques. You could use some craft paper. You could paint this and leave it solid colored. You could paint the edge a color. I mean, there's so many different techniques that you could do with this, but I wanted something really pretty and florally that was obvious Christmas on here. Some of those florals are beautiful, but they weren't just Christmassy enough for me. So I went with this little holly and berries here. I thought this would be so cute, and there's two of them, and so I'm going to kind of off-center them on here. You'll see exactly what I mean with that. But there are some really fun transfers in these IOD books. I have to be honest with you though, IOD transfers are not my most favorite transfers to work with. I've had some that have been other companies and other brands, even Dollar Tree, sometimes you get some that are so slick and smooth and you rub on and they come off with no trouble. I have a hard time with IOD transfers, getting the transfer started to actually transfer to your surface. So, and these were no different. I mean, they end up transferring in the end. They're very good quality, everything, but I will tell you that I definitely have some of my favorite brands, and these just don't really make my list as far as my favorite brands. However, I'm working with what I have, and these are very cute. So I'm just using this little transfer scraper here. You're just putting your transfer down onto your surface. I did this off-centered here, and I'm making sure to kind of get at the edge. Almost you want like an air bubble to get in there, and you'll start to see the transfer release if you can kind of push that air bubble down toward your transfer. And sometimes it's really hard to get that started with the IOD transfers. It's almost, I don't know, does anybody else out there know what I'm talking about that's used these? It's almost like they're too thick or something. I don't know what it is, but there's definitely something. It's almost like they're too good of quality, I guess. I don't know. I mean, they are very good quality, but I eventually get the transfer to transfer into work again, getting an air bubble there that helps it release. I only had one little area that didn't transfer that I had to go back in. That's one thing that is so nice, is you just can go back, lay that down, scratch that part off onto your design, and it transfers right on. Now I'm going to off-center this on the top side, kind of going at like a kitty corner direction here. And then even on some of those white edges that are left, I will go back and place some of the leftover leaves, just so it looks like this is kind of like a big pattern over the entire surface of this bell. Since I am going over the edge, meaning that my transfer is like dropping off, I'm going to want a really crisp, clean edge there. So I'm just using my fingernail file to go around the edge. This is going to clean up any overhang that you might have from that transfer that's left there. Sometimes the transfers, when you're on an edge like that, will just naturally separate right there. Again, these stick together very well, and so I did have to sand a little bit of that off. But you can see here where I'm taking just that little corner piece of that leaf that was left, and I'm just going to put it right on the corner there, and it's going to transfer right there to kind of build in those blank areas. Now, I see a lot of people do this. I'm not even sure if IOD tells you to do this. They might, but you just kind of polish or burnish or whatever it's called onto your transfer with that little bit of the clear transfer paper to help it kind of create a good bond. I do go over the top with some Mod Podge. I got a little bit too much on here, which is fine. I just scraped some of it off onto my paper there, but this is going to, of course, protect it, especially where we're using this as a surface. We're going to set things on. That way our detail and our design will not get scratched off. Now, I thought it would be fun to put a few little half beads on the bottom here to kind of raise it up. You wouldn't have to do this. You could just leave it as it were, like more like a trivet. But I thought this would be so cute to have these little feet on the bottom here. So, of course, if you're going to do this, you could glue this on before you paint your project, but it didn't really occur to me until this point. So I do 3 just kind of on the corners and then at the top of the bell. That's really all it needs to be stable. And then, of course, I'm just going to go back and do one more coat of paint on the base of this, so that way those little feet blend in. The fun thing about this is I could set it up in a little vignette just like this, and it's absolutely adorable. I think the little edge from sanding around the design there is so beautiful. That transfer is absolutely gorgeous. But then using it on like a little tiered tray or a platform or your cabinet, something like this with a cute little vignette displayed on it, it just is one of those little extra touches that brings your decor to that next level. What do you guys think of this? I am so excited to share this project with you because I love how it turns out. I'm making a layered sign, which I love to make. I have this tin. I picked this up on Temu last year. It came and it was much smaller than I thought that it was going to be, which is usually the case. But anyhow, it's perfect to make a 3D sign out of. I do just want to say, at first I'm cutting some floral foam to be about 2 inches here to be able to, and I'm just making sure that my sign's going to cover it and everything. You can make this with any sign that you probably already have, any shape of sign. You can pick something up at Dollar Tree. You can make something. You can make this for any season using any florals, any sign, any shape, any time of year. So the fundamentals are all the same. So yours is not going to look just like mine, and that's the way it's supposed to be. Now, I'm just using some hot glue to glue the floral foam down on my backer board here. If you are one of those people that cannot do the texture of floral foam, you can use regular styrofoam, but you just want to make sure to glue in each of your picks as you're making this. I recommend doing that if you're going to sell this in any way, but if you're doing it just for your own home, I found that floral foam will hold on to everything the best. But of course, if you're going to sell this or something, you don't want things falling out of it, always glue it in. So I just put some glue on my styrofoam there, my floral foam, excuse me, and I'm just going to make sure my sign is placed on there. If it's not completely centered, it's okay. You can make it centered with how you place your florals. Now I'm just taking all of my Christmas picks. I pulled out a big pile of them all out on my floor, and I kind of was just looking when I got to, okay, what can I put in next? Ooh, I like what this looks like. There's no rhyme or reason to this. It's just what you like. The one bit of advice I will give you is do different textures. So not all pine all the way around. Like you do some different, I use some lamb's ear in this, and I use some different berries and just things that add different visual texture and literal texture. So I'm just going around and see, I put some glue on this one because it was not holding in there for some reason. So definitely you can put glue on this. But like I said, the floral foam, I have not had any problems in my home with it, with things falling out. Styrofoam, once you make kind of a hole in there, it's less forgiving. And so I feel like you would definitely want to make sure you're gluing everything in on that. Now I look at this almost like it's a clock. And where I'm placing all of my picks, I kind of think of it as where the numbers on a clock would be. So if I have like 4 pieces, then you can separate them out and put them, like 12 and 6 and 9 and 3, or off center them and put them at the different numbers if you would like to do that. So everything I have, that's kind of how I'm thinking for my spacing, just because that's a circular something that I'm used to like working with as far as spacing goes. I hope that you can understand what I'm saying when I say it. Now, this pick right here, I don't know where I got it from, if it was from a Walmart or Hobby Lobby or Dollar Tree, but it definitely did the job to fill a lot of space quickly. And so start with something that you've got a lot of to cover a lot of ground with. Now you can still see that board in the back. You will not by the time that we're done. That's how many florals we're going to put in this. And so, because I always get people will say like, oh, don't you want to paint the backboard? You can, but I've just found I always end up covering it. So I don't take the time to do that. But if you have less florals, it's something you might want to do. Now I'm adding some lamb's ear in, and I did not have this with my Christmas stuff. It was more with my spring stuff, but I happened to see it and went, ooh, I really like the silvery texture with this. And I had quite a bit of it, so it also would cover a lot of ground. And so I am placing it kind of more behind my pine because I want the more Christmassy picks to have the show, like be the kind of the star of the show, if that makes sense. And so I'm just kind of sliding that lamb's ear more in around the back, so you have a little bit of dimension and can see a little bit of that silvery color of that with that texture. And then these are just some berries that I had from Dollar Tree. Again, you can kind of see I just am placing them. In my mind, I'm going, okay, if I place this one at this time and this one at this one, but just space them evenly, working around so you're not heavy on one side with one type of your floral, and then, and stop and hold it up and look at it. If you want to take things out and adjust it, it's really easy to do that. If you're doing the floral foam, if you're gluing this in as you go, you just want to be more careful before you glue it in. Make sure you do like a dry fit with it and that you like where it is. Dollar Tree typically has these little woody looking, like they're covered in glitter, very whimsical. And I'm actually just kind of doing a dry fit, putting them like in my even spacing here before I'm putting them in. So some of them are actually upside down right now. Don't worry, I don't leave them that way. But I was just trying to count how many I had and where I wanted to put them all in. But you can kind of see what I mean as far as doing a dry fit before you would glue anything in. And that way I can just go around and go, okay, this one goes here, this one goes here. But I love these little sparkly sticks. I don't know what we would call them other than that, but I love the texture that they do bring and they do add, and it kind of brightens it up a bit. They usually do like silver, gold. I think I've even seen red before. Now comes for the real whimsical part of this project. Now I thought this would be perfect to do for my red and white striped pattern, because at Christmas time, when you think red and white stripe, my mind immediately goes to candy canes. So, and peppermint and ribbon candy and all of those fun, like Santa's favorite candies type thing. So I thought they would be perfect for this. So this is just a pick that I picked up at Hobby Lobby. They have a huge section of like peppermints and candy canes and like a whole aisle that's just all red and white, and I picked up a few things from there to add to this, and I just love the way they look. I kind of was going for the vibe that where this is like the candy canes 5 cents on here, that this is filled with all of Santa's favorite candy cane type treats. So like the pillow mint peppermints, the little starlight mints, or the little ribbon candy and the candy canes. So that's kind of the vibe I'm going for here, and I just love this. If at any point you think, wow, you're really filling that up with a lot of stuff, I do. I like to do that. If you get to a point when you're making yours that you go, I think I'm good, I don't want to add anything else, stop. Sometimes I struggle with that, but I really do love how this one turns out. Now these are, I don't even know what these are. They're fabric. They almost looked like a little bit like slap bracelets to me, but what they reminded me of was the ribbon candy that you get, like the peppermint twists or whatever. So I thought they would just add a fun textural element that kind of had a little bit of like that white fur trim on them. Perfect for the red and white swirly stripe that you're looking for. And then of course I got these cute little candy canes to put in here too. And I just kind of tried to space everything as best as I could, fit as much in as I could where I thought it looked great. And I just went with what I was feeling. And I just love how this is coming along. Have you guys ever tried one of these layered signs like this? I swear once you make them, you're addicted to them. I started making them a few years back and I literally make one for every season now. I just love them. Now on the back here to hang this, since this was already had the, like it did already have the holes punched in, I'm just feeding some twine through to tie on there. I do it very taut. Sometimes I'll glue like D-rings on the back. Really, it just kind of depends on where it's going, what you're going to do to hang this. But I'm just tying this twine very tightly across here, so that way I can just kind of hang it from like my front door hook or my pantry door hook. So after I cut off the excess twine here, I'm just going to drop a little bit of hot glue over the little knots. That's going to do two things. It's going to secure that knot so it doesn't come or slip untied at all. And then it will also make sure that that twine adheres to the board. So it's just an extra layer of protection to make sure it's secure. Oh my gosh, you guys, look at how cute this is. I think this is so fun and so whimsical. I turned all the candy canes to kind of go opposite directions through the whole things. Little details like that make sense rather than just having them thrown in there sporadically. Just cute little thing. I just think this is so fun. I mean, I definitely would stop at a sweet shop with a sign like this, right? If you're up at the North Pole visiting, maybe it'll get Santa's attention and he'll definitely want to come visit us. I think this is so fun though. And what a great way to take a sign that I got that was a little bit smaller than I thought and make a statement piece with it. I just love this. What do you guys think of this one? I don't think I could be happier with how everything turned out. I think everything turned out so amazing and so beautiful. I have my cute little bell that I did. I have my O Come, Emmanuel, so my song with this beautiful nativity. I just love that texture, how that turned out. I have my traditional DIY with the traditional red and green C9 bulbs hanging from this garland. I don't know, maybe you guys will tell me that's not traditional, but to me it is. It just reminds me of my childhood. And I thought that was so fun to kind of do that. And then of course I have my red and white striped pattern here with the candy canes, because to me that just screams Christmas with candy canes, and that red and white stripe means totally peppermint and candy canes, right? Did you guys have a favorite project from today's video? I would love to know. Let me know down in the comments. Remember that this is part of a playlist collaboration. So Wendy from White Sparrow Living has a video for you, and Alicia from Lavender and Lace has a video for you. They have different prompts, different challenges. So you're going to have to go see what they created and how they did. I can't wait to see what they made. So click that link down in my description box or pinned in my comments. You guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Happy crafting! If you liked the video that you just saw and you want to keep crafting together, here's another video that you might enjoy. And as always, remember to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.